the room.
There we go.
How you doing, Dave?
Doing really good. How
Good.
about you?
Good, man. I happy to say my Rangers are in the Eastern Conference Final, so it's a good thing for us Ranger fans up here in New York and
Right.
nationally wherever they are. But got a game tonight. Looking forward to that, and it's been a exciting run to watch them advance here. So
Cool.
let's go Rangers.
Go Rangers.
Anyway, so today we're going to talk about deep diving into Microsoft Teams. We'll start out with anyone else joins. We'll just add them to the feed as they come in. We are the Reboot, and we meet every Wednesday about this time and talk about different business trends and topics, and not necessarily tech related, but we always kind of steer in that direction. We don't. We lose.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
Right.
I'm Brian Bratchy with BNL PC Solutions, and today we have.
I am Dave Groot with WinStar Technologies.
Welcome, Dave. I think if we look back at just communication, inter-office communication, and any type of collaboration and talking to people outside the office. I mean, it used to be just email. That was the tool. That's how people communicated. Then we had, Slack is out there, and that's a great, inter-office chatting tool. We used it internally for a while, and then we made the pivot to Teams. And the reason we're talking about this today is just in passing from people I talk to, non-tech related people that use the technology in their own workspace. They're just a lot of limited knowledge on what they can do. Some are using Teams just to chat. It replaced Slack or Skype or whatever. And some are using it just for video conferencing, and they're saying it's great. And I'm like, and then they use Slack for messaging. And I'm like, well, just wouldn't it be nice to just keep that all together? So we're going to get into that today, and we're going to welcome this guy over here.
Mr. Brandon.
Brandon from you in Florida?
Hey guys, sorry I was a little late.
All right.
Am I from Florida? I don't know.
No, you in Florida
Did
today?
You guys already intro?
We did.
Yeah, I'm in Florida today.
Okay. All right.
I feel like I'm in Florida today. It's like 90 some odd degrees and humid outside. Very, very nice.
Yesterday I think we were hit 92 yesterday, and then today it was like 64 when I got up. It's like,
Well, we're supposed to
I feel like I'm in Alaska right now. I'm in a different office today, and there's an AC vent right above me, and I'm freezing.
I see you got a jacket on, or the cover, or some kind of like long sleeve shirt or something. But yeah,
it's not helping.
All right,
so yeah, Brian,
I
think the Microsoft Teams thing, right? Like, I mean, COVID did a lot to bring that into everybody's. Prior to that, people were still very much into Zoom, and Slack was the other. The text, the messaging, but Zoom was the meeting platform, right? And Teams actually through that whole COVID period did a whole lot of like ramping up in terms of features and stuff over the course of and blew away the other people or the other vendors on some level, at least in my impression. And now they're a superior product, and it is very functional. It's something we use in our business every day. And you're right, our clients, they are using it, but I don't think they're all using it to the extent or level that they could.
Yeah, I think we try to talk about planning ahead. When it comes to technology, whether it be on the software side, the infrastructure side, and we have these conversations with our clients. When COVID hit, and everyone ran right to Zoom, and Zoom was not prepared for that, and there was that vulnerability in the very beginning where classrooms were getting disrupted, and all this stuff was going on, and Zoom had to kind of update the security, their policies, and be somewhat reactive to it. Microsoft Teams, on the other hand, had that video capability already, and then that started getting used, but you could only have, I don't think it was 6 people in the meeting at once or something like that, so the changes that we see Microsoft every month that they do has just been, I mean, they're plowing over everybody else.
They have certainly invested a lot of time and energy in upgrading the Teams and the whole Office infrastructure, right? The whole cloud-based thing. But Teams is like, I try and express Teams as the center of that hub and spoke environment of Microsoft, right? Like all things can come into Teams on some
Yeah.
level, and that can be your central point of entry. So it touches everything. And
Yeah.
that's
And
a beautiful part.
look how far it's come along compared to, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, even 2 years ago, but
Mhm.
let's say 3 or 4 years ago. Like if you put Teams up against Slack, there was no comparison, right? Anybody who was using Slack and jumped into Teams are like, this is horrible.
Yep.
And now, like, I don't know, I just can't imagine working without Teams right now because, like you said, David, my entire workflow revolves around everything in Teams.
Yep.
Because everything is built out as like, that's our springboard to get anywhere and everything.
Mhm. I will say that one of the most recent features kind of closes the circle. So where Slack still was ahead in my mind recently was the fact that when you were trying to communicate externally from your organization, right? It's okay to be in a Teams meeting or in a Teams webinar, but if you're looking to be in a team or in the activities of that team inside of Teams and you're not a part of the same organization, you're then considered an external guest, which is an entirely different experience than the firsthand experience you get if you're internal to that company. I hope I'm not confusing this, but Slack, allowed for that cross-organization
Mhm.
sharing and communication. And now Microsoft has made with what they call their shared channel experience, where you're able to replicate that same experience, even I think a little bit more robustly. So that kind of rounds it out and makes it so it is able to be cross-organization.
For sure. I mean, you did that, didn't you? Set that up.
Yes, I did. I enjoy that. And I'm looking at, we're using that in our business where we're communicating directly. We have channels for clients, right? So certain clients who have certain services, we have a direct Teams channel with those folks so that they can communicate straight to our team. We have that same with my security team. So when I'm needing to communicate with those folks, I'm seeing exactly real time what's taking place. All of the tickets in our help desk queues are coming through Teams. All the phone calls, everything that we do is coming into Teams, and anybody who has the appropriate access and permissions can go through and see all that.
Mm-hmm. What's your on the meeting side of things? I some of the kind of the cool things that I saw are the presenter mode, right? And when I showed it to somebody, and it's just cool. Like if you're doing a presentation, you can spotlight. You can you become the presenter, and then you're kind of like, it's like you're standing at a podium. You're there, and your deck
You're
is
the news
behind
guy.
you, and yeah, and it's better than just sitting there doing a full screen deck and going through slide by slide. It just changes the
Well, it gives
experience.
people your animation, right? Like
Exactly.
I don't know, when I'm speaking, I'm a hands guy,
Right.
I'm all over the place like this.
Right.
And if I got a slide deck up in front of the screen, nobody's seeing any of that. They're not getting any of that body language.
Exactly. Or in I've done it in Zoom, and Zoom was just a little, just a
Little
little
square, which
square in the
nobody paid
corner,
attention to, yeah.
that's it. So that shows the type of development and advancement that they're putting into the video side of things and the conferencing side, because I have clients now that are changing their conference rooms to incorporate the Teams experience. Going from they use
GoToMeeting maybe, or
they were using, no, it was another I think it was a Cisco product that would collaborate all the video, not WebEx, but it'll come to me. But again, just overall, can we just swap and make Teams the primary? And it's been working out great. I mean, the feedback has been exceptional.
And I think a lot of folks don't necessarily understand that there's, with Microsoft Teams, you can put on a voice service, right? So you can turn it into a telephone system as well. But most recently, Microsoft, that all had to take place through their infrastructure. Now you can actually start to tie in your own PBX and your own voice providers into Microsoft Teams. They've opened up the API and allowed all kinds of different people to be able to program into it so that you can have that shared experience where your soft phone client is also the Microsoft Teams client.
Yeah.
And therefore all of that communication, right? The chat and the SMS and the voice is all being done through that same thing.
Yeah. And the mobile access has been, I think the quality has been great. If you're on your
Stellar.
iPad or even your phone, I mean, and someone's sharing something, I mean, you can look and see it. So as you're traveling, and the mobile experience, I think has been exceptional compared to some of the other services. And then to tag onto the voice part of it, we've done some migrations from VoIP carriers directly to Teams, and got the there are some people that they want a phone, like you
Sure.
can do the headset, the Bluetooth, and all that stuff. Get a physical phone, you get a Teams compatible phone, and it's great. I mean, we have a client that's now testing 3 lines, and the feedback has been, why don't we do this sooner? It's just
Right.
it just makes sense. And then the owner's on his phone in Teams, and he's like calling from Teams, and it just, when you have that type of collaboration and just the office, the end user experience is that much more, it's just cohesive, and they don't lose.
The
Look, it
unified
comes
presence
back
is
to using
really
those
nice.
tools
Yeah.
to grow their business,
Yeah.
right? I mean, isn't that what we all try and do, right? For our clients, it's about, look, you have technology. That's a given. In a lot of cases, people hate technology. They think it's a problem, it's a cost, it's a liability, whatever. But then if it's done right and it's working, all of a sudden you have tools, right? It's not technology, but it's a tool. It's something that's going to help me achieve my goal. And if I can achieve my goal faster or quicker or in a better way, less expensively, then I'm growing faster and quicker in a better way and less expensively. So that's what we try and do. And Teams is definitely one of those tools that can help you achieve that.
Yeah. And the whiteboarding, I don't know if you guys have used that or I mean, have any team member go to the whiteboard and just real time collaborate. I mean, I think that's more that it's just that experience, and you're just saving so much time and energy by having
Right.
it done, because that would be sending documents back and forth, trying to, or all get together and travel and think of businesses and that are presenting, and they what, everyone sit down at your computer and we'll throw a whiteboard up and put up our images and text and collaborate.
Well,
Have you-
before
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I
Sorry.
was going to say, before, from a feature parity, there was a lot of differences. But at this point, it's doing everything that those other systems are doing, but then integrating with the other tools you already use. So in the whiteboarding example, hey, you're on a Teams meeting. You pull up the whiteboard, you draw some information, and then it just like magically saves,
Yeah.
in the channel, in the place that it kind of should be, and people within that group or team can go back to and see. So from that standpoint, it's just very seamless. To go back just for a second, especially when you're using Teams as a phone system. So when you're using it for phones, for file sharing, for conferencing, and all these different functions, as a business owner, what's really nice is you get unified presence, right? Whether they're working remote, whether they're working from their car, whether they're in the office, it doesn't really matter. Like, when they're on the phone, when somebody's away from their desk, if they're working or in a meeting, like, that information is right there at your fingertips, and that's super powerful.
It is.
I think there's no less than 3 times a week that I am in a Teams meeting on my mobile phone. I walk into my office and I sit down and my desk pops up and says, "You want to move the meeting to
It's
this
seamless
device?"
now,
And
the
I click the
transfer.
button
Yeah.
and it
Yes.
just takes it right from my mobile phone straight into and I'm just like, yay, this is
Yeah,
wonderful
and even
stuff.
even
I mean,
the if you're on Teams on your desktop for the day, I lock my computer. I walk away. I take my mobile device with me. It knows which device to alert. Like when
Yeah.
it's just
So what's cool about that, what we should tell people about is, so there's 2 things. Number 1, that's more of a recent feature. So like you go to another device, it tells you, hey, you were on here. Do you want to transfer to this device? So if I join from my cell and I get to my computer, I click the button and I'm like, on my computer now. Great, perfect. The nice thing is, so for the person who is mobile, you can set different metrics in terms of how you want to be alerted. So like if it knows you're away from your computer for some time, it can handle your mobile alerts differently if you're at your desk or not. So if I'm at my desk, like I don't want a bunch of messages popping up all the
On
time
your
on my
phone,
cell
right?
phone.
Yep.
So I
yep.
can have it disabled when I'm active on my desktop. But
Mhm.
when I step away for a while, yeah, I do want to get the notifications. And that's all seamless as well.
It's very
Mhm.
cool.
The other thing you talked about presenter view, and I don't mean to be bouncing all over, but there's just
That's
like
all
a
right.
plethora of really cool things. Um, I don't know if you've ever been in a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting or any of those online video conferencing type platforms, and you've tried to share a video. Kind of crazy, right? Doesn't work so well. Now with Microsoft, you can go into PowerPoint and you can pre-load that video into the cloud so that it streams and it's clean playing through
Fully synced for everybody. Yeah.
fully
Yeah.
synced for
Yep.
everybody at the same time.
Yep.
I mean, that
And
sounds like, who cares? But I'm telling you, if you're using video in your presentations, that's a huge thing.
Mhm.
there's also a brand new feature where you can redirect your local system sound.
Yes.
So some
yes.
other systems can't do that.
Yep.
But hey, let's say you pull up a video that you want to share ad hoc. You know, in the past, what do? You turn up the volume on your speaker and you're hoping like
Put
your
a
mic is
microphone in
picking it
front
up.
of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
No,
that's
I'm
another nice new feature.
absolutely.
I
It's
I,
I
I
mean,
wanted
go ahead.
no, I wanted to bring up, so it's not necessarily Teams, but it ties into Teams, I feel like, because it makes everything very seamless now. So Bookings has been out for a while. A lot of people don't know what Bookings is, but Bookings is like Calendly, right? A lot of people use Calendly. It integrates with your email client, Office 365, whatever else, and it
And that lets
validates
people
when are
basically,
you available and
right.
you want to book some time on my calendar. Oh,
Right.
great. So now Microsoft, well, I mean, it's in preview, but it's basically going to be rolled out to everybody in the next like month or two. But it's called Bookings and Outlook. So everybody will have a direct link to your calendar that you can share out. It's like all automated now, right? You don't need an
Well,
admin to go in and create
yeah.
bookings
So in
pages
the
per
bookings
client.
initially, it was a shared calendar.
Right,
It was a group based
right,
calendar, not your individual calendar.
right,
And so that
right.
was the difference. Yeah.
But now it'll be seamless, right? So you can
hmm
put that link just like Calendly, where click here to book some time, and you can turn it on so that it automatically adds a Teams invite. So all of a sudden, boom, you've got a Teams meeting invite as part of the booking that you can adjust as the presenter, or, the person whose calendar that you have that configured with. But now it integrates fully, right? So hey, you want to book some time? Perfect. Great. Hey, we can share our screen during that time too. We can connect on a call. Automatically creates a conference bridge number and things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's been.
Are you?
I was just going to comment on the ability, which one of my friends I was talking to had no idea that he was on a different computer, so he didn't have his laptop with him. But he needed to go and check some stuff, and he logged into the Microsoft portal on the web and went open Teams and could not believe the experience. He said he couldn't even tell that he wasn't on the app, and they've done a really good job on mimicking.
Outlook is exactly the same.
Outlook is identical.
Yeah.
Even the Office web apps are exceptional, and Teams is you really don't know. I mean, it's
Mhm. Right.
so that experience has been good too. And one thing regarding Teams audio conferencing, there's a SKU for that. I think it's like $5 a month because I had people that
Soon
want.
to be free.
I think
Soon
it's
to
going to
be
be
free.
free. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that right? Which
Mhm.
is it allows people. So I've had that request that I need a dial in for people for Teams that aren't on a computer. So it was like $4.95 for,
Mhm.
and there was no restriction on usage, to my knowledge. And we have a bunch of people on that. Give you a phone number and a PIN. It changes every meeting you set. At least
Yep.
the one that I saw. So it's
The
not
the
like,
phone number won't change. It assigns you a
right,
number once you get the license, but yeah, the ID will change for
right.
every meeting.
Okay.
And what Microsoft sent something out a couple months ago is that I think it's like third quarter it's supposed to be that they're going to open up that conferencing for free. So they had a promo for a short period. like an adoption promo, right? Hey, you can
I
have
think
it
during
for free
COVID,
for a
they did
year.
that too for COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I think depending on what license type you have, David, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you're on business premium or if you're on certain SKUs, you're going to get audio conferencing for free. You won't
Yeah,
even need to pay the couple bucks.
Premium or up, like E3, E5 kind of stuff. Certainly.
And think
then,
about that. How much is Zoom? 10 to 15 bucks a user or something like that?
I think
don't
the
know.
free version will let you do audio conference only, right, for 45 minutes or something like that. And then after that, you got to pay, and for a phone number, you got to pay.
Yeah. Right.
And I suspect that may change with the competition, coming out of Microsoft on that level. But the other thing is, I don't. It's not a very highly used, but it's a kind of a nice feature, is the webinar in Teams. Are you familiar with the webinars? Like we used to have the meeting and the live event. Live event was only available in the enterprise SKUs, but that would be like where you were pushing out content to somebody, and it was literally like a stream, right? You were streaming out.
I thought that was live event. So webinar is now different.
Webinar is available for business premium and up.
Okay.
And if you go to webinar, if you look under the calendar inside of Teams and you say new right next to the word new meeting, click the arrow and you'll choose webinar. It then builds out a registration page if you want people to register, and you can brand that and formalize it, and then they register and you get a list of everybody who registered and everybody who attended, and and they're seeing it in a consumption only kind of format. There's no camera, no they have questions, but I don't think there's chat or voice, right? It's just a webinar.
And on the back end, they're probably marrying all these different products that people don't even realize, because with your subscription, you're getting forms for Microsoft, right? So you don't need SurveyMonkey or all these other things to kind of build it out. So they're marrying those products pretty well with that. That's really cool. I had no idea that was the case, because with live events, you had to do a lot of manual intervention if you wanted.
It's all kinds of streaming. You got a preview side and and you had to know what you were doing. It was complex. Which,
it was complex.
Okay,
sure.
if you have that staff, and that's wonderful. But if you're just looking to put out a webinar, right? That's what this is. And I'm telling you, go play with it, just because it's something that most people don't even realize is there, and it's part of your subscription. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that's
very cool.
And then again, there's a ton of applications you can add to Teams that
we go Power BI, we pull in reports and analytics, and I can tell you if my staff is being productive or if they're goofing off today. All that stuff is showing up inside of Teams. It's incredible. Yeah.
We have, like, I know when we make changes to the website, so Michelle and I, we have a channel, and in there's just a link right within Teams to the website to quickly pull. So you don't have to leave it and go, it's just the simplicity of it. And just,
you're working from Teams.
Exactly.
You don't, I mean, that's the whole point. On my phone, on my tablet, on my desktop, on my laptop, it just doesn't matter. It's the same experience across the board.
And those documents, I mean, if you once you set up your conditional access and your permissions, I mean, you can go on your mobile device and pull up the documents you were working on today. You can't do that with anything else.
You record meetings, you can go back and play them. They transcribe. You get a full text coverage of what it was.
Right.
We use Microsoft Shifts, right? Is inside of Teams, and that's how we set up our staff. That's when they know they got to work. They can request time off. They clock in, they clock out, they take their breaks. All that's done inside.
There's one I didn't know about. See, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I think what a lot of people don't realize, at least this is what I come across. So there's two things when it comes to like guest messaging and sharing. So when it just comes to the chat side in Teams, right, there's two sections in Teams when you go in. You've got actual Teams where you can collaborate, share files and things like that. And then you have direct chat messaging. What a lot of people that we work with, they don't realize that on the chat side of things, as long as your organization allows it, you can seamlessly reach out to a vendor, someone else who's on the Microsoft platform, and like have a chat within that same unified experience without going someplace else. And to take it a step further, you can potentially invite them to subsets of teams. So like maybe, and I know you were kind of going into this a little bit earlier, David, but and not a newer feature, but inviting guests into a team. So if you want to collaborate on a project and you've got a vendor that's going to do a portion of it and you need them to edit files and you want to seamlessly collaborate in there, like, again, I know it's not a newer feature, but I think a lot of people don't realize that
you
it's
can do
even
that,
a
yeah.
capability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what the shared channel feature enhances, right?
Yep,
So it
right.
takes that same experience and allows now an external user to be a member of a team, but their experience is as though they're internal
Without switching
without
actual
switching
tenants.
their thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
I'm telling you, you're
awesome.
missing it. You're
That's
not catching
awesome.
on. You like
Because
hook
that's
it
what
up, my
everybody
friend.
hates,
Trust
right?
me when I tell you, you
Can
will
we do
be
that with
enlightened.
profit accelerators and our own? Can we do
I
something to
totally
that?
think we should be doing that. Of course, we
Yeah.
can't with we will need to enhance the licensing at
Oh,
the
okay.
PE tenant because it does not allow for that currently. But
We'll
it's
talk to the
one
chairman about
license.
that.
Yeah, no big deal. It's because of the Azure AD aspect of it. But
Right.
you have to allow external connecting between organizations inside your. So there is some administrator configuration ahead of time.
Right.
But then I'm telling you, the experience is as though you're in a team in your company, but
Right.
you're somewhere
awesome.
else. And it's
That's awesome.
very, very cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
So,
All right, guys.
I've,
Yeah,
I've
I
been
think
waiting for that one forever. They've been promising
you
that
did
for
say
over
that.
a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
They just need to make it easier now. This is what they do, Microsoft.
Yeah.
They release something. It's very rough around the edges in terms of setup, but then at some point they'll enable the webinar type of function of it, right?
Right,
So you just
right.
click
Yeah, well,
one button and it'll do all this stuff for you.
And
the
be ready
partner
for there's
ecosystem
going to
will give them
be
feedback.
there's
You
going
know,
to be
they'll say, "Oh, this is too hard."
the inevitable name change at some point, right? I mean, it's got to be.
Not again, please.
So I just want to end with that because I gotta say, and I don't think most of you understand this or remember it.
Most of it,
Brian,
that leaves
maybe.
Brandon and I.
Brandon, I'm pretty sure doesn't, but maybe Brian does. But so in a land far, far away, back in 1994, when the internet was fueled by dial-up modems at 28.8K and 14.4 baud, we had a program in Microsoft Windows. It started out in 3.1 and carried over to 95 and 98 called NetMeeting. And it literally
I remember it.
was a video conferencing capable program. I used to do net meetings with my son and my mom over dial-up modems. We were an internet provider, so I had the best connection I could get was right on the backbone, but she was on a dial-up connection and we would pull it off. It was very slow. You had to let somebody talk and then they would talk back. You know, it was not full duplex by any means.
Right.
But that's when it all started, like way back then. And then another product Microsoft brought on was called Groove. And Groove is where Teams grew into. So anyway, just a little backstory.
There you go.
From the old guy. So, all right.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. We will be back next
This
week.
is good. I like Teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we got a couple of cool topics coming up. We're gonna.
Oh yeah, we got to do bookings. We got to do all of that. Let's just show them all.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do some screen shares and get into, a little granular.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We'll see you next week at 1:30.
Sounds great. Y'all
See you
have
guys.
fun.
See you guys later.